So the IPL is just 8 days away. March 31, we are going to see the carnival of cricket being played in its full capacity after a gap of 3 years. Home and away, teams playing in their home venues, teams generally showing that who's the boss. Home and away, travel in India, full house. It seems that the old normal of 2019 is back. But there are two innovations in IPL 2023 by which everybody's gotten their attention to. One, you can review the wide calls which have been used in the Women's Premier League. And second is this particular rule where all our family members are saying, why don't you use that when we do our playing 11s? The impact player rule. What is the IPL impact player rule and how will it work? What are the special conditions under which you can use the IPL impact rule? In this, I am going to tell you the entire technicalities of how you can use the IPL impact player and what are the conditions under which you can get him. So as I had said, new rules in IPL 2023. One involves the review for the wides and the main thing will be the impact player. It was introduced by the BCCI in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy of 2022. In that, what happened was that team could get an impact player before the end of the 14th over. But here is where the change happens in the IPL. In the IPL, you can get it at any stage of the game, but with certain restrictions. That is the major thing that is there in the impact player thing. So how does this impact player thing work? So what is an impact player? An impact player is one substitute who can come into bat or bowl or bat and bowl. That is the definition of the impact player. One substitute who can come into bat and bowl can only be an Indian but can also be a foreigner unless starting 11 does not have 4 foreigners. I'll explain this technicality later. You can only have an impact player, majority of them as an Indian, but if the team does not have if the team has less than 4 foreigners, then only an impact player can be a foreigner. So what is the protocol? What is the protocol to get an impact player in? So in addition to the playing 11, when the team comes out for the toss, the team has to list 4 substitutes. When the captain announces the playing 11, he has to list the 4 substitutes also. Use any one of the 4 subs as their impact player. It is not necessary that you have to use all 4. Only one impact player substitution will be allowed. That's it. You can name 4, but you can only use 1. That is the basic rule of the impact player. So what are the options that an impact player can have for the captain? So the captain can nominate the team's impact player. He can choose, okay, among the 4, who do I have to choose? That is the one. Bring them in before the start of an innings, so you can get the impact player before the start of the innings, at the end of an over, and at the fall of a wicket or when a batter retires. So supposing if you have taken 1 wicket, but that bowler has gone for runs, he can then be replaced with the same like for like impact player. But when you are the bowling unit, there is one particular caveat that you have to understand. There is one discrepancy here that they will have to be very careful about for the bowling unit. If the bowling side brings in an impact player during an over, middle of the over, at the fall of a wicket, or if a batter retires, then that particular player will not be allowed to bowl the remaining balls of the over. So simple. Supposing if a batter has fallen at 10.2 and that impact player comes on and replaces, then that impact player cannot bowl the remaining 4 balls. He will have to bowl the next over. So you have to ensure that, okay, 10.2, if the bowler takes the wicket, finish the quota, and then he can be replaced by that impact player. That is the way how you have to look at it if you are a bowling unit. So, start of an innings, end of an over, fall of a wicket, after the over finishes, only then you can get the impact player. That is the clear rule which is mentioned. Now, Indian or a foreign overseas impact player, that is going to be the one question that is there. In the initial slide, I had mentioned that if the team has picked 4 foreigners in the playing 11, then the impact player has to be an Indian only. He cannot replace, an Indian cannot replace a foreigner cannot replace an Indian, vice versa. If playing 11 has 4 overseas, impact player has to be Indian only. If there are only 3 or 2 overseas players, then impact player can be a foreigner. It's a clear-cut rule. You cannot go over the 4 overseas limit that is there. 4 overseas players in the starting 11, you are maintaining that rule. So the impact player of a team can only be allowed if you name only 3 or 2 foreigners in the playing 11. If all 4 foreigners are there, your 4 substitutes, your 4 impact players will have to be Indian only, no one else. An Indian can replace an Indian, a foreigner can replace a foreigner. They can't do either. The Indian cannot replace a foreigner, vis-a-vis the same thing. Foreigner cannot replace an Indian. Incoming overseas player should be named at the toss. Remember that impact player, if it's a foreigner, he has to be mentioned in that 4 substitutes that's there. Only if he's mentioned among the 4 substitutes at toss time, only then he'll be allowed to come, otherwise he cannot come. Now, as I had mentioned, there is some change when it comes to the bowling team. If bowling team brings in their impact player in the middle of an over, they will have to wait till the end of the over before that player can bowl. So as I had said, if a bowler finishes at 10.2, but the impact player comes on, then he will have to wait for that bowler to finish and then he can continue to bowl. That is the basic. The wording seems to be a bit complicated, but it is simply, if I break it down, you cannot get an impact player to finish the quota of balls that is bowling. Allowed to bowl their full quota of overs irrespective of the number of overs bowled by the player they are replacing. So suppose Gujarat Titans, Rashid Khan has bowled 4 overs, but he's been replaced by Alzari Joseph. He too can bowl 4 overs, provided that he's a like-for-like replacement. So in a way, the impact player can bowl as many overs as he wants in his quota. It does not depend upon the player whom he has replaced. So that is some certain specific bowling rules which are there. So that is how the impact player will have to utilize if you are the bowling team. Okay. Now you may often see rain interruptions. A T20 match may still be reduced to maybe 7 overs, 6 overs, 8 overs, 10 overs. What do you do in that case? Can you use an impact player? Yes, you can still use an impact player. And there will be no change to the number of players who can bat in an IPL game. There are 11 players, only 11 will be there. That is how you have to go about it. Teams will have to very smartly decide their impact player because it can change the entire dynamics of the game, and that is what they wanted to do. The BCCI wanted to do, get an additional invention. Okay, number 12, number 13, they've always been there to just get the drinks. Here, number 12, 13, 14, 15 can actually change the outcome of the game, and that is why this IPL 2023 is far more exciting. So in a way, this impact player rule will change the dynamics of the game totally. The captain will have to decide what is the best move, who can be the right substitute. If you cannot get that, then you may as well botch up in your plan. So this is something that the captains will have to initially get used to, the impact players. So quite simply, the key basic points: 4 substitutes, 4 players that can be nominated as the impact player have to be named at the toss. You can get them at the start of the innings, end of the over, fall of a wicket, you can get them at that. For the bowling unit, the bowler, if he picks his wicket, say 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4 or 10.5, the impact player will have to wait for the bowler to end and then he can replace him. He cannot complete his quota. That is the clear rule. And even if it is reduced game, rain reduced game, an impact player can still be used. Remember, a foreigner can replace a foreigner, an Indian can playing 11, all the impact players named have to be Indian. If there are less than 4 players in the overseas, less than 4 overseas players in the playing 11, then an impact player can be an overseas player. At any point in time, 4 or more overseas players, you cannot play in the team. So these are the pure and simple rules. Team can utilize the impact player a lot better. Tap that bell icon so when we go live. Write to us in the comments below, and don't forget we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Share this video around, and don't forget to download the SportsTalk mobile app for your content in Hindi and English. Thank you.